Happy Friday, December 30th, 2022. My name is OldSkuleNerd, and today is a very special day, especially for fans of that band, Feuerschwanz. They have a brand new album out called TODSUNDEN, which is the deadly sins in English. And this is going to be a little different because last year at this time, I did another interview with a member of Feuerschwanz, the one in the armor right there, Hauptmann. And he was awfully sweaty because that was a lot of armor to be wearing. But he did an amazing job. And we talked about their previous album, Momento Mori. Now, during Momento Mori, they kind of teased us with two cover songs, Warriors of the World and Blinding Lights. Now, both were excellent covers, done in a way that only Feuerschwanz can. And that apparently was just the tease to this new album, which is all amazing covers done in a way that only they can. To get more answers to this album and other projects involving this particular artist, we're talking to the guy who, quite frankly, is one of only two guys that can properly wear a top hat during a metal band, or HANZ PLATZ, the guitar genius who's played on so many different things. He's done Feuerschwanz, Reigns of Casimir. He's done, well, we'll talk about the other thing he's working on, which I think they have an album coming out next year. That's going to turn heads. This is my conversation with the amazing HANZ PLATZ. Hey everybody, my name is OldSkuleNerd. Welcome in. As promised, today is a very special day. Why? Well, two reasons. Number one, Feuerschwanz has their brand new album out right now. And it's completely not what we thought a year ago today. And that guy over there is HANZ PLATZ. Do you ever not wear a hat?
No, I always wear a hat, even in bed.
Good point. I don't wear hats. I feel weird about it. So that's Other than the fact that you're a guitar guy and I'm not, that's the only thing we don't have in common.
Or maybe you don't have a hat head. Maybe.
Oh, that's true. My head's very fat.
I don't know.
So I don't look good in hats. Well, that was 3 minutes wasted of an interview. Okay, so so let's talk about 1 year ago this time. I was having a conversation with your buddy, your mate, Hauptmann from Feuerschwanz, and we were introducing the new album Momento Mori, which took everybody by surprise, by storm, and it was amazing. But,
thank you.
And then now we come full circle a year later, a new Feuerschwanz album, but a completely different direction, sorta.
Sort of, yeah.
Because I don't think people realized that when everyone saw Blinding Lights, the video earlier, a few months back, that wasn't on the new album. That was part of Momento Mori. Right. Were you guys testing the waters for covers, thinking, what could we do next?
Well, when we released the video for Blinding Lights, I think we already didn't know that we will release a cover album. Basically, what we did is we took the bonus albums of the last two special editions, which were limited, and sell it again as a new album with two additional bonus tracks, because we got many people who didn't buy the limited edition and it was sold out very fast, and so they couldn't get hands on the CD of all the cover songs. So we thought it might be a good idea to re-release those two special editions and add two more songs on top of it.
Just kind of like tease everyone as to what was coming. So
yeah, exactly.
Because I am well known throughout YouTube as being the worst at pronouncing German names of anything.
Oh, really?
How about you tell us what the name of the album is so it's done right?
All right. The name of the album is Todsünden.
Now, I do know that translates to English as the deadly sins.
Exactly, yeah.
Does that mean that, okay, we just got that ABBA, that gimme, 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 and the ladies took you boys and just ran you through the ringer, that whole video. Is that something of a theme? Because the album is called Deadly Sins. Are some of these covers kind of reflective of the seven deadly sins, or no?
Well, not literally, but the first cover album, which was a bonus track for the 11th Commandment, like a bonus album for the 11th Commandment, das 11. Gebot, it was called the Glory Seven.
Oh,
So, you mean? And now the new bonus album was called the Seven Deadly Sins. So the first cover album was like, oh, which songs do we like and which songs do we really want to cover? And and now the bonus album was more like, what are we daring to cover? Like, so what will people think of us if we cover like Manowar, like Warriors of the World? Is that a deadly sin to even touch that song? You know, because for some people that song is might be a sacrilege to just lay hands on that song. So that was the approach to the second bonus album. So that's why we called it Deadly Sins. So because some people might think, oh, that's pretty brave that they are going to cover Manowar. And yeah, that's what was the idea behind it.
okay. So here's my favorite part of all that. Okay, so you did Warriors of the World,
Right.
possibly one of the biggest videos of this year. That was an amazing collaboration. We're still talking about that castle and those visuals and those amazing artists that Feuerschwanz put together in this collaborative effort. At that point, I think the door was wide open for anything, because when you do Warriors of the World and you do it right, and then you follow up with Blinding Lights, that's two completely different genres. Metal, kind of a pop jazz feel, hip hop kind of, and you're doing them in a folk metal version. Memento Mori was probably my favorite folk metal album I've ever heard.
Oh, really?
And
Thank you.
yeah, but you guys are kind of at the forefront of that because you really embrace storytelling, real folk instruments, and that integration into the metal. And y'all do it right with really good storytelling. So here's my thought. I'm thinking they can do it, but I don't think any of us were ready for that ABBA cover.
We weren't either, I think.
The song, I heard the song first and I went, man, it really sounds good with the folk instruments doing that tag, you know, that keyboard tag that is well known from ABBA for decades, that we all know in our hearts. But to hear that being done with folk instruments, it's like, man, that's almost better than, and then there's that power that you're putting into the mix. And then the video. I mean, come on, that video was so great.
It was fun.
You tried. You were the best of the monks. I mean, you were still guilty, but you tried, and I appreciate it. Now, let's talk about today. Now that it's out.
I mean, just one remark to the ABBA video. I mean, last year when Memento Mori went on #1 in the German album charts, Ben put out a bet. So if we're going to be #1, we are going to do a cover of ABBA, because we've beaten ABBA in the charts, because ABBA didn't release on the same day, but they still have been in the German top 10 at that time. So from our point of view, it was like an impossible task to end up in front of ABBA, you know, but it happened. And so we had to do a cover version of ABBA. And last year we just did like 1 minute or something, the chorus. And then we thought, yeah, let's do a full version. And this year we went to Mallorca for a full metal holiday.
Nice.
And we thought, let's do a video there. Let's do the ABBA video on Mallorca.
So it's from a bet?
It's from a, it's from a bet, actually, like with the audience, you know, because we said, if we're going to be #1 in the German album charts, then we're going to do an ABBA cover.
That's the greatest thing ever. How did you decide to write this? Oh, well, I was on vacation, or I was around my family, or this song really, nope, this was a bet and it was awesome. So we did it. Boom. It's okay. So that explains a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
What can we expect now that this album is out? I'm assuming there's going to be plenty of Feuerschwanz videos that we can expect this year coming. Similar to last year with Memento Mori's release. I'd love to ask, of all the stuff that's coming out, what is your favorite track? I put Hauptmann on the spot last year, and I feel like, well, if I did it to him, I got to do it to you.
You mean the favorite track of the cover?
Of the covers, yeah, of this album.
I would say it's Warriors of the World, I think.
Okay.
Because it has so much power, I think. And at the beginning, it wasn't clear that it will work at all, you know, to keep the power of the original tune, because Manowar is Manowar, you know, they have the big balls and everything. And yeah, but the moment I started recording the guitars, actually here, right here, I'm recording all the guitars here where I'm sitting right now. And it was absolutely clear that it's going to work, that I played the riff, and yeah, that's it. And yeah, that's my favorite. And I also like Ding, actually.
Who doesn't love? I mean, yeah. The introduction of you guys, and for the ladies to show up, and the way it worked, especially with the video when you guys stumble into that tavern, and y'all were like a bunch of drunk blokes out on the streets, out on the town, and Melissa and the ladies of Feuerschwanz put you completely in your place. It was one of my first Feuerschwanz videos I ever saw, and I went, this is so different, and it's so amazingly well done. And at first I thought, well, is this going to be kind of campy, kind of silly, because they're dressed up like, you know, medieval warriors? But then you guys make it so believable. Like the theming is so well done. You want to be part of it. It's like, I want to go into this tavern and I want to be a part of this. Looks like the best time ever. So when you guys sit down, and there's so many members of this band, and y'all have so many other side projects and so many things going on, like both between Hauptmann, he's doing his thing. Of course, you have the lead singer of D'Artagnan's in your group. I mean, there's so many different perspectives. When you guys sit down and decide this is what we're going to do, how do you decide which covers you're going to do for this album? How does the writing occur? There's so many elements between all of you.
Well, it depends. Most of the songwriting is between Ben, me, and Hauptmann. Like, Hauptmann is more on the lyric side. I'm more obviously on the guitar riffing side, and Ben is bringing it all together in a way. Like Elftige Boot, for example, was a lyric idea by me, or I have a guitar riff and send it to Ben, and then it's going back and forth. But Ben is the center, basically, of the songwriting. And how do we decide which cover we do? Well, it was basically, if you're in the tour bus and you know, some guys and three girls talking nonsense, and then, hey, let's do Ding from Seed, and like, what? No. And yeah, and for the 7 Deadly Sins, basically everybody had some kind of pick. You know, I think Johanna did choose Dragostea Tinte, the Romanian super hit from the 80s or 90s or 2000. I don't know. Some from the past.
You own it now. It's fine. It doesn't matter. It's Feuerschwanz now. That's all that matters.
Actually, regarding that song, I have a story later to tell. Coming back when we're going to talk about Dark Side of the Moon.
Okay, awesome.
There's a connection. There's a funny connection.
So you guys are on a tour bus, and I can just see Ben sitting there, and Hauptmann's, you know, cleaning armor because it smells. We know it does.
Of course.
And Joanna and Jenny are just like, you know what we could do? We should do, and everybody's like, yes. I mean, it literally like people just have ideas, and they're like, and then sometimes you're like, could we do this one? You're like, probably not, because I can imagine you looking at some of these songs going, I have to write the guitar part for this, because I know you mentioned for the Dark Side of the Moon, when you just did, you were like, writing that was a lot, because some of the projects you guys are doing with that is just overwhelming in some respects. Here's my thought, and this is the one that a lot of my audience is going to want to know. Is the hat, is the ship, are those women with the ears and the tails and the woman with the violin, are y'all going to come to this side of the ocean any time in the next year? Is that even a possibility?
Well, actually, we do at end of January, early February for 70,000 tons of metal for the cruise. We're going to Miami, and we are on the cruise ship and coming back to Miami.
That's
but no tour, unfortunately, not yet.
Not yet, but we don't know what could happen. Things happen all the time. You never know.
Yeah.
But that's like the only thing that a lot of my audience wishes. Now, my audience in Germany and Sweden and Finland is growing so fast. I have to learn one of these three languages. I've decided Swedish. No, I've decided to learn Swedish. Tank is going to learn German for me. You guys have been doing really well helping him with that. And I think we both kind of said, can't learn Finnish. We're just going to let it go. So many of my fans in the United States are like, we wish we had the experience of Feuerschwanz. So I'm like, get a plane and go. Because that's pretty much what I'm going to wind up doing because I got to see you guys live. I see these videos, the fire, the pageantry, the storytelling, the musicianship. It just seems like an overwhelming thing that I got a little taste of Sabaton this year.
All right, cool.
And when you see, I'm thinking, man, the Europeans got something. I gotta go check that out. I've got to go see it. So now I'm like, I've got to see Feuerschwanz live. I guess the only next question I have is for as far as Feuerschwanz, you can't give me any spoilers as to what video would come out for the next song, but when you guys come up with these video ideas, there's a lot of tavern play and there's a lot of outside stuff. Have y'all ever thought about doing something where our medieval band of misfits winds up in a place they've never thought they'd ever show up? Like kind of throwing a little curveball or even a modern take of something? Or is that something you guys just don't even want to approach?
Well, maybe. Not at the moment, but we already did shoot 3 more videos which are going to be released sometime next year, and those are going to be really epic.
Cannot wait.
Probably the most epic videos. Well, probably the most epic videos we ever did. But
that is incredible. Okay, so the album is out today, December 30th. Let me see if I can do it. Todsünden? Todsünden. I could just say the deadly sins and it qualifies for me. But,
exactly.
Okay, so epic cover album. And I think and I will tell you honestly, when the ABBA cover came out and I saw the video, the first person I messaged was someone that you know named Tank. And I said, did you see the ABBA cover? And he said, dude, it was so awesome. So believe me, we all love this. So we're like, please bring us more. There's just something about that real folk instruments playing all of these songs, especially the ones that were done in the 80s and 70s when everything was electronic and they were pushing away real instruments to do all this electronic synth stuff, that when you recreate it and you're using traditional instruments to do it, it just makes it just this much more epic. And I just love it. How do you decide which instruments to add to songs? Because you can't add too much. Is it just something in the arrangement, or do you guys?
Yeah, it's an arrangement, because you can't add bagpipes to every song. At least we don't do it. But,
you could. Doesn't mean it would sound good, but you could.
Yeah, exactly. Did you ever heard real bagpipes?
Well, yeah, I know that I've heard.
I've mayhem, heard... like 3 bagpipers standing there and with slightly detuned bagpipes. That's heavy.
Well, the Scottish bagpipes are overwhelming just by themselves.
Yeah.
But the continental, those German bagpipes that don't have as many resonance horns, don't layer it to where it overwhelms you. It could, but it tries not to. Okay, and so at this point, I think we should give people a bonus and talk about something else that's really near and dear to your heart.
Right.
And that would be the Dark Side of the Moon.
That would be the Dark Side of the Moon, right?
What a project. Did you imagine when this started where you would be right now, about to thinking about Metamorphosis having a release date. And it just seems to me that when you first announced this and you announced all the players, the four of you originally, is that fifth person kind of now in the mix, or is it just a guest spot?
At the moment, you mean you're talking about Roshanda?
Yes.
It's at the moment it's she's a guest, but I can tell you she's playing on like 4 songs on the album, like 2 more than originally planned because it did work very well.
Oh, it was so smooth. It added just one more element, didn't clash, it just added.
Yeah, and it's quite funny. That's the connection I mentioned earlier, actually, because her uncle was the original sound engineer for Dragos de Tinte for the original song, she told us. That's funny.
What a story. Okay, now I have been angling and asking patiently to have a conversation with either you or Melissa about this project. Because this has been the one project that hit me literally like a brick in the face because it was such a creative idea that hadn't been really approached before. And when it was announced, The Dark Side of the Moon, I thought, wow, this is going to clash with every Pink Floyd fan in history, except one simple thought. Pink Floyd is all about telling amazing stories with no limits and no set rules. Then you start coming out with these first 2 tracks from the project, and I'm like, it's exactly the same idea. It's a brainchild of so many different people with this similar idea of telling stories. We're going to throw away the rules and no limits. Let's just be as creative as we want to be. And so far, every video, every track is a master storytelling exercise. And I cannot tell you that enough. Every time somebody says there's a new song, there's a new video, I'm digging. I'm digging for everything about it because it's a side project. It's like a labor of love. It's not, okay, we know that you have members of, ad infinitum, Feuerschwanz, and then that drummer guy from that metal hip hop pop band, and it's like, oh my God, to put 4 different people together and create something so unique. How did you approach the idea of this? Because this was a big undertaking.
It grew slowly, and then all of a sudden it exploded because at the beginning I don't know if you know, I made 3 instrumental cover versions together with Jenny and with Johanna from the Game of Thrones soundtrack. And after that, I thought it would be great to have something with vocals. And for some reason, Melissa did dare a bet again, and I won that bet. So she had to sing that song, and that was Jenny of OldSkuleNerd.
Yeah.
And to make the story shorter, I presented the song to the Feuerschwanz manager, and he in turn showed it to Napalm, and then they told me, hey, let's make an album out of it. And then we started looking for songs and creating those cover versions. And it's a really nice journey because all those movie soundtrack tunes and songs, movie soundtracks in general are very rich. And if I see it somehow as the modern classic composers, like you had Mozart and Beethoven and stuff, and today you have Howard Shore and John Williams and Hans Zimmer and people like that. And that's so rich what they create. And they also have sometimes they have songs, real songs like May It Be or Jenny of OldSkuleNerd.
Yeah.
And it's quite a journey to turn them into a metal song because every song is different from a different composer. And actually, like the last video, like the Harry Potter tune, that was like, when I first heard the original, I had no idea how to do it.
You said that. I remember you mentioned that. It was like, this was a huge undertaking to do that.
Yeah. Actually, when we started and did it went pretty fast doing it, actually. But at the beginning, it was like, how? Because it has strange measures, strange time signatures, like 5/4, 6/8, 4/4, like alternating between those time signatures, and has very chromatic melodies and strange chords, and yeah, and even the vocal melody is very chromatic, which makes it very hard to sing actually for Melissa. It's maybe not the most flashy Mariah Carey singing, but the melody itself is very hard to remember and to hit every pitch. And actually, I'm quite proud of that undertaking, and having Roshanda on board is like was the icing on the cake. Like,
yeah, it really fleshed it out in such an amazing. And the two of you, that guitar and violin section in that song was such a beautiful marriage of sound, that you're watching two craftsmen, two real storytellers at work musically. Now, the album is going to be out tentatively May 12th, correct, of next year.
Exactly.
And before you go, because I know you are so busy, you're probably going to go find the members of Feuerschwanz to make sure they're all still around for the premiere, because, you know, I know how them crazy boys do when, you know, you're not around. Here's the thing. Feuerschwanz does a cover album. They're taking songs that have been produced for mass listening, and they're doing covers of them in their own style.
Right.
I think what caught me about The Dark Side of the Moon as a project was I don't consider any of the songs of that project to be cover songs. I consider them to be reimagineering of them, like completely rebuilding them into something completely different, because you're taking songs that aren't typical radio or musical industry format and turning them into something that can be consumed by the metal crowd and non-metal crowd. My kids are not metal fans, but if I tell you that The Dark Side of the Moon is on all of their playlists because they're taking stuff from that pop culture that they love, and when I tell them Melissa's singing, you know, something evil this way comes, double trouble, and it's the Hogwarts theme, you know, and then they're like, from the movie? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, how can they do that? I was like, I don't know. I'll have to ask Hans, because it just seems like it'd be impossible, but y'all are pulling it off, and it's truly amazing. So today, everyone needs to get, if you have, pre-ordering is done. It's out. Go get it now. Out. Okay, seriously. And are for the Feuerschwanz vinyl packages are available?
How many packages? I don't know. There's a vinyl package available.
Yeah, but they just need to go. They can go to the Napalm store. They can go to the link. Store. I'll have a link below to all of Feuerschwanz store stuff. They can find it there. And then
there's
of course,
special edition, with a very nice special edition, like with a bottle opener, which also is an amulet of the Feuerschwanz sign. It's very nice. It's very nice.
Okay, now you're spoiling people now.
Yes.
You're supposed to be musicians, and here you are, you're like tavern keepers. It's awesome. Okay. Yes. And then, of course, we can look forward to more amazing stuff coming out from Dark Side of the Moon as the album approaches. If it's anything like what's come on already, we are more than ecstatic. And I guess that's it for us. HANZ PLATZ, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for taking us on this journey. My favorite musical genre is not metal. My favorite musical genre is folk music. Always has been, always will be. And to marriage the two the way Feuerschwanz has done, and in the way that so many other bands are doing nowadays, and with Feuerschwanz leading the way, of course, I know you have many secrets under that hat of yours with such great creative people. I think it's amazing how Napalm allows so many different members of different projects and different bands to get together and just share creatively and create something that we can all enjoy so well. It's something new that when I was a kid, or actually when you and I were kids growing up, that 80s metal would never happen back in the day. I mean, if you were in one band, that was it. They're you know. So I think it's amazing that the label allows so much creativity. So I think it's awesome.
But the 80s have been a creative time in a way, you know, because all those bands started, like Metallica and Iron Maiden and Megadeth and all those bands coming up, and everything was new back then, you know. They were starting their way into fresh waters, basically, into unexplored worlds, and I think that was exciting as well in the 80s.
I agree. What I was referring to is if Lars Ulrich wanted to go play drums for another band, it just didn't happen back then. Yeah. And you have labels now, especially those in Europe, that are saying, what can we create? And if Hans has an idea and Melissa has an idea or Ben has an idea and they share it with other artists and they're like, we could do something. Like you said, you shared those tracks with Napalm and they're like, let's do an album. And now we're all reaping the benefits of it. So that's it for us. Hey, Hans, Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
And I think 2023 is going to be huge for both of your projects. I don't know how you're going to be able to keep track of everything.
Yeah, I will keep you informed.
Oh, we know. We follow your social media over here. All right. Well, I appreciate everything you do. Everyone, this is the man under the wizard's hat. I know people think wizard's hats are pointed. No, it's actually a top hat, and it's a guitarist.
And sometimes it's uncool even. So,
you know, not only do you look like Mick Fleetwood, but you kind of have a little bit of a Rush thing going on with all this creativity you're having to create. Timing signatures and complex stories. You're like, man, I don't know how Neil Peart and Alex and Geddy did it for all those years.
Yeah, but Rush is amazing.
Well, but we appreciate everything you do, and thank you for your time. Have a wonderful New Year, and tell everyone in Feuerschwanz, skull from me, and cheers, and well, Happy New Year to you, sir.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
We'll see you guys later.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like. It really helps the channel grow. Also, if you want to subscribe, right there. Big thank you to all my Patreons out there. We appreciate everything you do. If you want more content like this video, check them out above. Remember, love one another, take care of each other. We're all stuck on this mud ball together. We'll see you later.